Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be talking to you about prostitution and how feminists tend to address prostitution as a whole. So to start off, I'd like to introduce you to a woman named Cecilia Gentile, this woman right here. She describes herself as being a part of the service industry. She helps people with social anxiety, disabilities, and even people trying to figure out their sexual identity. Now, you might think that she works in the healthcare industry or any type of other therapist service, but no, she is in fact a sex worker or a prostitute. And now, most importantly, she is an immigrant and a transgender woman, and this affects her life as a prostitute very much. Prostitutes are often at a higher risk of danger to themselves. Their safety is always at risk, and their health is also at risk. So there is many different ways and ideas surrounding how to help prostitutes or whether to help them at all. So first, the constant health risk that prostitutes face. Sex workers are at greater risk for contracting STDs, STIs, and this is really dangerous because they have limited to no access to healthcare services, so they are unable to achieve the help that they need. Now, on the safety side, they are at higher risk for abuse from their clients or even pimps abusing them. They are also at greater risk of trafficking situations. And a big problem with this is that if a sex worker were to fall into a trafficking situation, they often do not reach out for help because they fear these legal consequences, since prostitution is not legal in 49 of the US states. They're also at greater risk for sexual violence because of the how media presents prostitutes very much perpetrates the violence against them, as it paints this idea that they are dirty or dispensable or a less than person. Sorry. Now for some history and context behind the issue of prostitution, because as I am sure you all might not know a lot about this, so I would like to enlighten you. So for some history of how feminism has addressed this, it first came about in second wave feminism. So the 1960s, 70s is when this kind of started being a feminism issue, a feminist issue. And for context, there are 40 to 42 million prostitutes worldwide as of 2019, from a 2019 study. So it might seem as though there are not that many, we don't need to worry about them, there are bigger issues, and while I'm sure there are bigger issues, this is one of those big issues as well because they make up so much of the general population. And now I have this graph right here. I know it's so hard to see, so I'm just going to read a couple of these statistics. I'm sure you could zoom in if you're super interested, but I really like this graphic. It says one of them is 75% of prostitutes suffer from drug abuse, 42% say they need legal assistance, and another one is that 78% of prostitutes have been threatened with a weapon. And now there are others about what prostitutes have dealt with. And I will admit that I do not know what year this was published. It did not say. So I'm sure these numbers have already increased if this was not a recent graphic. But I think this really puts into context the dangers that they face. So how does feminism address this issue? And now, as I may have stated earlier, you would potentially think that feminists might be united against this issue, as some people see this as a woman's issue, as majority of prostitutes are women. However, there are lots of discourses surrounding prostitution because of the moral dilemmas that a lot of people face, because so many people are raised to believe that this is wrong and sex workers are not people at the same level as other citizens. So I've chosen two different types of feminism to focus on for this, as I think they represent two sides of how to help prostitution or prostitutes best. So the first side is liberal feminism. Now, liberal feminists believe that they believe in equality through law and legal practices. So legal equality, and this is helpful for decriminalization of prostitution. And this is what a lot of feminists argue for rather than legalization. I'll explain that in a second, because decriminalization would greatly help them, and it's necessary to have a legal stance because this is a legal issue. And this is how liberal feminists could address or would address prostitution as a whole. Now, this is where I would like you to watch this Juno Mac TED Talk. She is a sex worker and a sex worker activist, so she is very knowledgeable about this topic. I'm specifically asking you to watch 1435 to the end. I'll put that in my little note, but I highly encourage you to watch all of it. If I could show all of it, I totally would. She is very knowledgeable about this topic, so pause. Okay, I'm gonna assume you went and watched that video. I really hope you did. So moving on, decriminalization versus legalization. Now, I will admit myself, I did not really understand why you would rather have it not legalized, but after further research and looking at different countries that have legalized it versus decriminalized it, specifically in Europe, Belgium was the first country in 2021 to decriminalize prostitution. And oftentimes they see greater effects if they decriminalize versus legalized. And this graphic, once again, I know is very hard to read here, but I'm just going to point out two things. This really explains better than I could ever why you would rather prefer decriminalization over legalization. And this shows that decriminalization just takes away the criminal offense from the act. So they would not face criminal charges if they were to go and obtain legal assistance or legal help, for example, if they fell into a trafficking situation. However, with legalization, this then opens gateways to licensing, which might seem like a good idea. However, licensing fees can cost from hundreds to hundreds of thousands of dollars, which will be a problem for many sex workers, as oftentimes they live under the poverty line. So this is why decriminalization is often more attractive than legalization. Now, for intersectional feminism, which is the other type of feminism I decided to focus on for my issue of prostitution. So intersectional feminists often focus on cultural changes and ending stigma. They also address how there is not just a woman's issue and that there are many factors that can play into someone's oppression. And this is really important because many prostitutes are people of color or transgender people, and they often face the most oppression by the legal system especially, and they're often in the most danger. So understanding this and even just acknowledging this is really important to helping prostitutes as a whole. Also, ending the stigma around sex work, as you can see in this graphic, is really important because the stigma sets a barrier between the legal help and sex workers. Because of the stigma around them, they often do not get the help that they deserve. And this is when I have another video. It's really short. I would like you to watch this Maggie DeVries TED Talk. It is just these sections from 9 minutes to 10 minutes and 58 seconds. So just watch that now. Okay, I hope you came back. So how can liberal and intersectional feminism work together to obtain the best outcome for sex workers? And I really think it has to be a combination of the two to be able to truly help them, because it can't only be a legal issue. Since there is so much stigma surrounding it, there also has to be an intersectional perception of this issue. You need both of these perspectives to be able to truly help sex workers and the issues that they face. So I decided to add a section here. What can you do to help sex workers? I really hope this presentation strikes something in you and even just helped you understand this issue more. So the first thing you can do is legal things. Voting, particularly there are House bills being proposed right now in New York, Vermont, Missouri, and Massachusetts to decriminalize prostitution. And I highly encourage you, if you are from these states, to vote for representatives and senators who will get these bills passed, because in the 2 years that they have been on the desks, they haven't made it past that, and they have not been voted on. So I highly encourage you to, if you are from these states, to write and advocate for these bills. And also, I can understand in Indiana, for example, there are no bills to decriminalize sex work. So writing to your senators is a really good way to let them know that this is an issue that they need to take action towards. And in Indiana specifically, our senators are Todd Young and Mike Braun. And if you're not from Indiana, if you're from another state, you can find your senators at senate.gov. And it's a super simple process. I include a screenshot from the website here. You can put in your state and search for your senators. And this is also on house.gov for your representatives, and it will pull up all your senators and all their contact information, so you can email them or call them to let them know about this issue. And lastly, becoming an advocate for sex workers, and even just ending the stigma within yourself if you hold these preconceived notions about who a sex worker is, because truly they're no different than me and they're no different from you. So we need to acknowledge that to be able to end the stigma around it. And then of course, petitions are a great way, as I'm sure we all know. Change.org petitions. There are thousands of petitions to decriminalize sex work on this website, I include a screenshot here. This was one of the first examples. You can just search decriminalizing prostitution and it will pop up. So I am very thankful that you decided to come and watch my presentation on this video. I hope this graded your understanding of sex work and how feminism has tried to address sex work and how we can take liberal and intersectional feminism perspectives to truly help sex workers. Thank you.